Over the past 12 months, thousands of citizens across the continent discussed about their ideas and concerns about Europe, and they also made proposals for the future of the European Union. Now this unique experiment of direct democracy called the Conference on the Future of Europe has come to an end. I'm going to be discussing the details with MEP Guy Verhofstadt, who has overseen the whole process from the side of the European Parliament. Guy Verhofstadt, welcome to Euronews. First of all, we are at the final plenary session of this conference. How do you see the process? Was it a success, a half success, or maybe a failure?
Well, I think when we started this 1 year ago, there were not many people who believed in the usefulness of a conference on the future of Europe. In the meanwhile, besides COVID, we have an enormous crisis with the war in Ukraine, and we have all seen that this European Union needs to be reformed to survive in the world of tomorrow. It will be a different world, to defend the interests of our citizens and to act more rapidly, more decisively than we did in the past.
What are the most interesting proposals?
For example, one of the main proposals is to end veto rights in the European Union. So to stop with unanimity voting and decision-making processes. Because of unanimity, you're always acting too little too late. With the European Union. That was the case with the financial crisis, that was the case with the migration crisis, that was even the case with COVID. And that is still a problem today in this war, in this wartime. So what we need to do is to abolish that and to have a simple majority voting system or a qualified majority system on every topic inside the Union so that we can act faster than we did in the past.
For that, a treaty change is needed.
Yep.
How do you see the chances to have that?
Well, in any way, what I know is that the Parliament the European Parliament will take up his responsibility. So we will ask for a treaty change.
And what about social matters like jobs, housing, healthcare? What are the citizens saying?
They want that Europe is also having competences on that, so that there is a social basis, a social minimum that is created and guaranteed by Europe in the whole territory of the European Union. On migration, they formulated, the citizens, and that has been approved by the conference plenary, a whole strategy to solve the migration issues on the European level. With legal migration, tackling illegal migration, solutions for refugees, for war refugees, and so on.
What's your favorite recommendation personally?
My favorite is certainly the joint armed forces for the European Union. The fact that we would have a common defense policy, because you see in the war with Ukraine that we are lacking that. We have to know that we spent more or less 240 billion on defense in Europe. That's 4 times more than the Russians. But if you look to the situation today, we are not enough capable, certainly not without the help of our American friends, to do something about that. So for me, the biggest waste of money in the European Union are 27 armies, duplication, and not enough effectiveness.
In the past decade, the issue of democracy and rule of law has been high on the EU's agenda. During the conference, when you talk about this issue with leaders or people from Poland and Hungary and from the rest of Europe, has there been a common understanding on this issue?
Well, the rule of law is not so difficult to understand, but the problem is that in some countries, the rulers, those who have a majority in parliament, thinks that they can do what they want because they have a majority, and that's not the rule of law. What is important is that in the conference, based on proposals of the citizens, we have decided to even change the treaty to make that work. Because we cannot avoid ourselves to have inside the European family a few members who think that, the money is important, but the value is not.
We have war in Ukraine for the last 2 months. How does that change the perception of the people on Europe. And was the conference able to reflect on that?
Most of the citizens' panels were held before the start of the war. But what we have seen is that the conclusions of the conference fit very well into the new challenges we are facing with the war in Ukraine. We are talking about the end of unanimity in foreign affairs, in defense. We are talking about an energy union, to create an energy union the fastest as possible, what we don't have today in Europe. There is no common purchase of energy. There is no, the energy mix is still decided on the national level.
What direction should Europe take according to the citizens? More Europe or less Europe?
Well, the citizens are not discussing that in the way you are describing it. You are a journalist, you categorize everything. I'm a politician, I do the same thing. You're from the right, you're from the left, you're for more Europe, you're less Europe, you're a Eurosceptic or a Europhile. The citizens are completely different. All citizens have more or less the same opinion. They like Europe. They think that Europe is a solution for a lot of our problems, but they don't like the way it works today. They don't think that the European Union today is the translation, I should say, of their wish on Europe. And that is their common understanding of all citizens, of those who are calling themselves Eurosceptics and those who call themselves Europhiles. And that is the big lesson. People like Europe, they have a European dream, they really think that the future of this continent lies in the European Union, but they have a lot of criticism towards the way it works today, or the way it doesn't work today.
Nationalist and populist forces in Europe are already criticizing this conference for being an instrument for European federalization. How do you see this criticism, and have these voices been heard during the conference?
Well, certainly, because the citizens that have been present, there were people more critical about Europe, people more skeptic about Europe. They all were there, but they had to have at the end a common vision, a common proposals. What I have seen is that in the beginning, extreme right-wing parties liked the conference, and then when they saw coming from the citizens, the proposals from the citizens themselves, they started to say, "Oh, it's not what we want. We don't like it anymore." So I don't think it's not fair towards the citizens. The citizens have spoken, and we need to take them seriously and to implement it.
Guy Verhofstadt, thanks very much.